All right, wonderful. So let's get started. Let me introduce myself. My name is Shubham Singh Kushwa, and I'm a corporate trainer. I'm an SME for Agile, DevOps, and Cloud Microservices. And let's get started with our today's session, right? So today's session is gonna be on DevOps. DevOps is trending nowadays, right? So in even like I can understand that most of our audience today is from academic background or in college. You may not have that much exposure, but right now market is very tight. USA is going through a recession. Even in USA, everywhere it's laying off, laying off, laying off. So market is gonna tough. At this time, it is becomes very important that you learn some extraordinary skills so that you can stand out in the crowd, right? So that some you need to learn something unique, and DevOps is trending because DevOps saves a lot of money to the companies, and every company is going DevOps, right? So DevOps is something that everyone is expected to have. If you're working in a software industry, in development operation, doesn't matter, right? If you have interest in being a developer, DevOps is something you should focus. All right, I see a lot of students, they feel like, okay, I don't want to work in support. I don't want to work in support. If you do not want to work in support, you need to learn DevOps, right? That's the only way forward, because most of the Indian companies are support based. So majority of the people get support roles. But if you really want to get a high growth in your career, you must start learning DevOps, because DevOps is every organization is adopting, right? So after Agile, DevOps is the next step. So in today's session, we're going to learn why DevOps, right? What exactly DevOps is, how did it evolve? That's the first question that I know all of you have. And we're going to clarify that question at the very first. Then we will learn about like what are the various DevOps tools, what are the benefits, what are the features of DevOps, and at the end, I will also show you a demonstration of a fully DevOps CI/CD pipeline, wherein we will automate our stuff. We will take a repository, a source code, and we will deploy that project to an AWS Tomcat server in one click. All right. So I'll also demonstrate like a small portion of it. It's not a fully fledged pipeline, but a demonstration wherein you will get a feeling, okay, what exactly DevOps is. So let's get started. Why DevOps, right? Before you understand why DevOps, let's understand like, how does an application development process goes. All right, because once we know the application development process, then it would be easier to understand DevOps. All right. So suppose I have an idea. Okay, I want to sell something in the market, and I want to have my own shopping website or shopping app, right? I'm offering some product. All right. And I realize that nowadays everybody is doing the things online, and they want things online. So I decided, okay, I want to have a website, and I want to have an Android mobile application. So if I want to have it, what should I do? I would go into the market and search for the vendors, software companies who does it, right? So I identified few companies in my area, and I have sent them a message, hey, I would like to do this. Could you please help me? And I got a very good response. Now, the very next thing that I'll do, I'll invite them over a cup of coffee, and then we will have a discussions. My main motto is to understand how you have been done in past, right? What are the applications, what are the customers you have served, what your customer says about you, because when the customer says some good about something, that means you can trust it, right? That means the product is really good. And right now everything works on feedback, right? How the feedback, that's how we trust on any of the portal. If any of the new thing comes up, if you see that the feedback is not good, then probably you won't trust it. But if the feedback is really good, probably even it's first time, you would trust it. So I would sit with a couple of vendors, and based on like I will decide one vendor. Okay, I want to be with this vendor. I would like to have this vendor develop my application. We finalized a vendor, right? Then we started having a cup of coffee. Then I invited them. Then they asked me a lot of questions. Okay, what do you want? How would you like, how would you want your shopping portal to look like? All right, what are the various platform that you would like to, what is your target customers, all the things. They asked a lot of questions, right? And everything they documented, right? So they documented and they analyzed my requirement, right? So from idea, now my idea has been documented in detail, and they started analyzing. And after analyzing, they come and say, okay, we should be able to do it, but it will take around an year or so. All right, because we have to develop a web application all, and you need to pay XX amount. I agreed. All right, let's do that. Once it is done, they started with the prototyping. Prototyping is designing, right? So design team starts with the prototyping. They create the designs, they create the screens and everything. And after that, the designs are handed over to the developers. Developers develop the code, they write the code. It can be in any programming language, depends on what customer wants. So they take some time, right, to develop the code, and then it goes for a testing. The job of a testing team is to validate whether all the development that we have done, all the features that we have developed so far, are they working as expected or not. That is what the goal of the testing team. Okay, then after testing is done, even if there are any bugs, they will revert to the developers, or if there are no bugs, it would be deployed, and we will hand over the product to the customer so that customer can use it, right? That's a high level, a happy customer scenario, right? A happy scenario. There are always two sides, like there are always two sides of a coin, there are always two sides of a software, right? One is the happy side and one is the unhappy flow. One is the happy flow, one is the unhappy flow. And happy flow is a myth. It's very rare. It's always unhappy flow, right? Because we make mistakes, we create bugs, then we fix it. That's how a software improves. Okay. So if you talk about software development lifecycle model, you would have heard about a model called waterfall, right? What is a waterfall? A waterfall model, like there are linear steps. If you pour water from the top, the water will only flow in one direction, and that is the reason it is called waterfall. Getting it? So we have waterfall, agile, and DevOps. That's how this evolved. All right. We will discuss each of them one by one so that you understand how did it started and how did we end up with DevOps nowadays. All right. We'll discuss all the problems and everything. All right. So in waterfall model, the actions are done in various steps. One of the thing that we have just discussed, the idea to development and everything, that flow is a kind of a waterfall model only, right? Wherein the first requirements are collected. Based on the requirements, so a team collect the requirements, they document everything, they ask each and every question. Right now, it is very difficult for a customer to imagine a situation how their product should look like after a year, right? If I ask you what you would be doing after a year, probably none of you would have any answer that what I would be doing after a year. But if you ask a customer, okay, how you want your application to look like after a year, the same question would be very difficult for him. But he has to do it because he wants to get it done. That's the only way. So 10 years ago, that was the only way to get the software developed. Nowadays, technology is changing very fast. So after a year, what would happen, you don't know. So I created this, and then they asked me requirements. I gave them requirements, and they said like, okay, I would take an year to develop your shopping cart. And then after 2 months, when they wrote all the requirements, we signed a contract. So waterfall is too much contract based, right? Everything is contract. After the contract any requirement, customer is not allowed to change anything. All right. So once the requirements are collected, the contract is signed, the customer has signed off the requirement. Okay, that's what I want. Those requirement document goes to the design team. So in waterfall model, for each of these phase, right? Requirement collection, application design, application coding, application testing, application maintenance. For each of this phase, there's a different team, right? So if you see, each team is dependent on the previous team. Once the previous team delivers the output, that would be the input for the next phase, right? So there's a lot of waiting time, a lot of time we keep on get wasted by just waiting for the output from the previous team. So design, like say for example, requirement collection took 2 months, application design team took 2.5 months to create the designs, and now it is delivered after 4.5 months. It is delivered to the coding team. So developers started coding. That is one of the most tedious tasks, and it takes the most of the time in the overall picture. So developers took, like for example, 6 months to develop that product. All right, so how many months have we passed? 10 months, 10.5 months have been passed. Product is delivered to the testing team. Okay, now testing team will start testing thoroughly. They have to test each and every flow. Testing, as I said, like in testing, you test the application based on the requirement that user has given. Does your application works the same way as it is defined in the requirement document? If not, then you have to raise a bug. That means it is not working correctly. So testing team keep on continuously testing and keeps on reporting the bug, and application team keeps on fixing the bug. All right. Now what happens here? Let's example, sub testing team done the testing for 1 month, and we have passed 11 and a half month. After that, what happens? Suppose testing team identified a bug. A bug is that when a customer try to buy something and make a payment, at that time the payment get deducted twice. All right. With this bug, you cannot move your application to production. With this bug, you cannot move your application to production. So what you should be doing? You need to communicate to the customer. Now in waterfall, going back was very difficult. It is very costly, it is very time consuming, and it's very difficult. There is no way back. If you're going back, that means it would incur additional cost, additional time, everything. But we have already signed a contract. Like for example, we have signed a contract for 10 lakh rupees, for example, right? That in a year we will deliver this 10 lakh rupees you have to pay and all the stuff. So is my screen visible, guys? Are there any problems? All good?
Yes, Shubham.
Perfect. I think I'm facing some problem. Yeah, now I have it. So we have to go to the customer, right? So in that case, vendor has to go to the customer. Hey, we have identified this bug. It is at the very last stage. And now to fix this, we would require additional 3 months of time. Okay, so we won't be able to deliver. In this case, what do you think? How the customer would react and what customer should do? Consider you are a customer. What would you do in this situation? Tell me. You can respond in the chat box. So you have found out a bug at the very late stage. In 15 days, you had to deliver the software to the customer, but with that bug, you cannot deliver. Customer would not buy it, right? So you have to communicate with the customer. You went and you communicated. All right, that okay, this has happened. How the customer reaction should be? Suppose you are a customer, how would you react to this situation? Right. So Rishabh says, I will wait, sir. All right, perfect, Rishabh. What about others, guys? What do you think? Consider yourself, you are the customer. I'm developing it for you. Right? Or the vendor is developing it for you. So initially the vendor did not allow you to make any changes, and that it is very much okay, fixed price, this much time and all the stuff, right? Vendor was not flexible. Now it is asking us to be flexible. How would you deal? How would you react in such situation? You are the customer. Tell me, come on, type in the chat. I'm waiting. Because this is very important. If you're planning to enter an IT world, you must understand this. What is the customer mindset? What is the vendor mindset? How should you react in different situation? That is something every individual in the IT must have. Come on. Are you able to type in? So Arpit says, I'll change my vendor. Rishabh says he will wait. What about others? Would you ask for money? Would you ask for a refund in this case? Would you get angry? Would you yell at them? Would you uh, would you put a penalty on them? What would you do? So Tisha says, I will motivate him to complete the work as soon as possible. Okay, good perception. Rishabh will try to generate new business. How, Rishabh? Can you please elaborate? Come on, guys. Let me know. What is your thinking? If you are a customer, how would you deal with the situation? Vendor is coming to you like, instead of 15 days, I will take 3 more months to deliver. And you are very critical stage. You are losing your business. You're losing money. So Priya says she will ask for a refund. Okay. Come on, guys. I'm waiting for your response. Do we have any other perception in this group? Just be open. It's okay. We are learning. Feel free to share. Prabha says, I will lose my trust to certain extent and will think about it to change the vendor. All right. Great. All right. So I think I got what I wanted to hear. So even though the vendor is not able to deliver, right? Switching to the another vendor is not a good decision. Why? Because then you are going to invest again the same amount of effort. Again, you will wait for another year, and there is no guarantee that that vendor also would be able to do it within a year. In waterfall model, it's always a delay. It's always a delay. How? Let me explain you. Right? We all have been a student at some point of time, right? When you start with a semester year, when do you actually start to study for the exams? When do you actually starts to learn for the exams? Even though you have 6 months or an year, right? Most of us, I am not talking about exceptions. There would be exceptions who would start learning from the day one, but they are very 1%. They are only 1%. Rest of us will start like 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, 1 week ago, and some people will just learn or just study over the night and clear the exam. They have this talent. They can just learn, pass on through the pages over the night, and tomorrow they can clear the exam. Extraordinary skills. All right. So with waterfall also people has this, right? With waterfall also people have this in a way. They used to wait. Okay, we have an year, we have an year, we have an year, and after 6 months, they okay, shit, there's only 6 months left, and we have a lot to do. So they try to rush up, right? And in that rushing up, they make a lot of mistakes, and they escape a lot of quality gates. They compromise the quality, and a lot of thing happens. All right, a lot of thing happens. All right. So the good, like the only, of course, you have to say that you are not happy. You have to communicate your frustration that because of this, I'm going to lose my business for 3 months. And you have to come. So you will be negotiating. You would be negotiating that if you are borrowing 3 months, you have to offer something to me. All right. So you have to negotiate. Maybe you offer 6 months of support. All right. Or maybe you, I'm not going to pay for this. You pay to the developers from your pocket for this extension and all. So you will have to negotiate in such a way that it's a win-win situation for both of us, for the vendor also and for the customer also. Which decision would cause the minimal destruction or minimal losses? That is what you need to go for. Got it? So the customer was very frustrated. He communicated and we negotiated, and I offered, okay, for the next 3 months, I'll provide the free support to you, right? The maintenance to you. Okay, it happens, but this is something that we cannot, you would not want to go to the production with this bug. And to fix this bug, I need to make a change in design. I need to make a change in the coding, and I need to test the application again. And that's why I think 3 months required minimum. So we would be able to deliver after 3 months. All right. So if you look at the waterfall model, all right, what are the challenges do we have? Right? Can we think of the challenges? I have mentioned those challenges here. First of all, it is very time consuming, right? 1 year is huge, right? 1 year is huge, and within 1 year you do not have anything, right? So it's very time consuming. There is no scope of requirement change once the contract is signed, right? There is no scope of requirement change. requirements cannot be changed. Compromise quality, as I just told, right? Because they were just waiting, okay, relaxed, we have a lot of time, we would be able to do it, and then at last they will just rush up, so they compromise a lot of quality. Based because of this, some things happens, some of the bugs are identified at the very last stage. Lack of customer involvement, customer is not involved at all. After signing the contract, the customer is only invited to accept the product in the last 10 days of the delivery. So in meanwhile, customer has no interaction with the development team. So that is a big gap. Then complexity, because of different teams, individual teams has to communicate with each other, right? 99% of the time, waterfall results into an unsatisfied customer. When I say unsatisfied customer, that means this due to all these things, right? Customer, what the product, when the customer gets, 99% of the time the customer is not happy, because he has changed his perception a lot about the product. He has some new ideas to implement and he could have done, but he cannot do, right? So even though everything is as per contract, but still when the product, he gets the product, he is not very much happy with the product. He see there are a lot of scopes of improvement in the product, then he ended up paying more. He ended up giving those requirements again to the vendor, and the vendor charges for this again. So it's a continuous development process. All right. And when these things, like these things, delay in delivery happens, at that time again customer gets very unhappy or unsatisfied, right? So delayed deliveries again one of the major drawback. Then unproductive teams, because majority of the time teams are just waiting for a design team to deliver. They were just waiting, the coding team is waiting for design team is waiting for the requirement gathering analysis team, and then testing team is waiting for a development team, maintenance team is waiting for testing team. So there's a lot of time gets wasted, right? The team size is huge, a lot of leakages are there, right? And poor communication, they fight a lot. So because each and individual focuses on their own job area, so there's a communication between them is very poor, that also causes a lot of issues. Got it? Did we get all the challenges that we used to have in waterfall model? Can I get a thumbs up from everybody? Perfect. Thank you. Great. All right. So we learned about the challenges with the waterfall, right? Nowadays, nobody uses waterfall, right? But still in colleges, people are still being taught on waterfall. So that is something strange to me, right? The organization is not using waterfall at all. But if you see, people are in colleges, people are still learning waterfall. It is okay for knowledge purpose, they must, but now this is a time to upgrade yourself. Now you must upgrade yourself towards agile, you must upgrade yourself towards DevOps. All right. So how did we, whenever there are problems, some invention has to be done, right? Something new has to come, and that new thing should, fix the problems. So here also we came up with agile, right? So agile tried to solve all those problems that we just discussed. How? They realized that the one of majority of the problems are resulted because we are focusing on the overall product altogether, right? We are focusing on the overall product altogether, and that's how, a lot of issues are coming, commission, all the things. So what they thought, let us do the development in small iterations. Instead of doing the whole product in 1 year, let us develop the product in short cycles. So we pick up short work and we try to complete in short cycles, right? 2 to 4 weeks. So what happened, remember, like we only start learning for the exams a month ago or 2 weeks ago, like this. So they have got this understanding that they start working later, so let's not give them time to waste. So we will develop a small piece of code so that they will be focused. They would have a clear vision. Okay, this is what they want to achieve over next 2 or 4 weeks, and they should be able to work well together. All right. Now, instead of Agile also made a change. Instead of having, those teams, multiple teams, we will have only one team. We call them a Scrum team, right, or Agile team, and the size of that team varies from 7 ± 2, right? So 7 - 2, that means 5. The smallest size is 5, maximum size is 9. You should not have a team bigger than 9. You should not have a team smaller than 5. All right. And they said after each sprint, those iterations are called sprint, right? So in each iteration, we will plan what are we going to deliver in this iteration. We were going to design the product, then we are going to develop, then test and deploy. So we will do it every time, every 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, we are going to execute this circle, right? So we will take a small requirement. For example, I want a shopping cart. So I will prioritize which feature generates the maximum value to me. So I will decide, okay, first, I think product listing should be the first one. So in the first iteration, first sprint, I will develop product listing. In the second iteration, I will develop cart so that I can add my product to the cart. In the third sprint, I will implement payment so that a customer can make the payment. Likewise, based on the priority, we develop a one feature in each sprint. That's what the target is in Agile, right? Agile has given 4 values and 12 principles, right? It's a mindset. It requires a mindset shift. So it sounds very simple that Agile is very simple, but working in Agile and getting it to success needs a lot of efforts from your side. All right. And that's where, that mindset change comes into picture, right? So it looks easy, but to master it, it's difficult, right? If you are interested in Agile, like I'm going to conduct one of the more like master class on Agile as well in coming weeks. So stay tuned and follow the updates for MentorBaba. We would have like in next month we would have some workshop on Agile. So what Agile says, right? Agile prefers, these are the 4 values of Agile. Agile prefers individual and interaction over process and tools. Waterfall was too much into process. Okay, we have this process and we have the set of tools. We are only going to use this. Agile says no. I want individuals and interactions. People should talk and know the solution and fix the problem. The more you have to interact in order to get more. So if you have some question about the requirement, you should be able to communicate with the customer, individual and independent interaction you should be able to have. In waterfall, it was not the case. Even if you have some doubt, you would only refer to the documents and go as per the documents. Even though if you have some improvements, you cannot do this. But now in Agile, if you feel like, okay, it can be improved further, we have some latest feature, you can directly go to the customer and discuss, hey, I think this could be a good idea. If you could implement this would really generate a good value. And if customer likes it, go ahead and proceed it, right? So individuals and interactions are preferred over process and tools. Then working software over comprehensive documentation. In waterfall, we spend 2 to 3 months only for documentation. In designing also, we create a lot of documentation. But here in Agile, we focus on working software. That means you should have a working software after each and every sprint that is preferred over documentation. Doesn't mean that we should have no documentation. Documentation is necessary, because in future these documentation will be the base for anybody who joins your team so that he can go through documents and understand the product. But it has to be minimal. It has to be minimal. All right. Then customer collaboration over contract negotiation. That instead of negotiating the contract, okay, I will take this much amount, this much time. Instead of negotiating on that, we must collaborate with the customer, right? So Agile says we won't be worrying about the contract, how long the project will go. We will keep on developing as long as customer will keep on giving the requirements. Customer is free to change the requirements. So Agile responds to the change. Agile accepts changing requirements. Whenever customer feels he has full right to change the requirements. All right. So that's what responding to change over following a plan. In waterfall, you had created a plan and you are only following that plan for next year. But here, if customer tomorrow learned something new, hey, I thought that technology recently came and can we use it? Okay, whatever customer says we'll do. Ultimate goal is to make customer happy. So that's how Agile solved all the problems that we had. Remember, time consuming. Now in Agile, you are able to deliver faster. How? Because the customer has the very first product within 2 to 3 weeks of development, right? He has a product cart which is deployed. So that he is getting his product continuously. So it is very fast, right? Delivery is very fast in Agile. Then no scope of requirement change in waterfall. Here in Agile, we accept changing requirements. Customer is free to change requirements anytime and we are good with it. Then in waterfall, quality is compromised. Here we have a small cycle, so we focus on a small item, so we have better quality. Then lack of customer involvement in waterfall, and in agile we have customer involvement. Customer is involved everywhere. Every 2 weeks we connect with the customer, or customer can come anytime. So customer collaboration is a key for the success of agile. Then complexity, here we keep it small. So it's the general problem with us also, right? Whenever you focus on a big picture of something, you would not be able to start with it. But when you focus on a small stuff, like one step at a time, you should be able to start and finish it. So if you keep it small, keep it simple, it reduces the complexity basically, because you have a small product, you have an end product that you can focus, and that is deliverable, and it's very close. It's not like very lengthy wherein you can lose your focus and all the stuff. Waterfall, unsatisfied customer, but over here, the customer is satisfied because the speed was good, everything was good, right? Then we have in waterfall delayed delivery, we discussed, right? We have on-time delivery here. In waterfall we have unproductive teams because there are so many teams. Now we have only limited one team, and the team is cross functional. That means developer know the work of a tester know the work of a developer, and configuration management people, or a person who deploys, or the ops people. That's how agile works. And then poor communication in waterfall, and here we have improved communication in agile. All right, so with this we solved all the problems that waterfall was offering. And that's the reason before 2020, if you see, agile was a major goal for all the organization. And I was surprised that still agile was not included in the college curriculum. The students were, so when I was taking the interviews for a lot of people, I expect to have some basic understanding of agile, right? But students were not at all. It sounds like agile word itself is new to them, and I was shocked, right? What's going on? Because every industry is 100% agile nowadays. And when you try to go for a company to have a work, and if you do not know agile, it's really not good, because then you spend 6 months just to learn agile. And that's where the company do not want to invest in learning nowadays. They want somebody who is deliverable, who can deliver the output from day one. Getting it? So this is must. We fixed all the problems that we had in the waterfall, right? In agile we pointed them one by one, and we fixed all the problem. We created agile in such a way that all the challenges should be overcome. Now, does agile also have some challenges? Does it resulted few challenges? What do you think? I would like to hear from, do you think, what challenges do we have from agile? Do you think there are any challenges? Looking at this, do you see any challenges? Can you identify any? Let me tell you, right? The major problem with the agile, that agile did not think of operations at all. You know, if you remember, after deployment, there is one more team called operations team or maintenance team who used to maintain. So they deploy, they operate. Operate means if they wanna, there are some problems, you wanna apply some patches to the server, you wanna do a new deployment, version upgrade, update, connection, network, and all the stuff. The team is responsible for making sure that our applications are available all the time, and performance is good and working good. They handle all the customer issues. If customer is facing any problem, these are the one who responds to the customer, who directly communicate with the customer, who directly solves customer problems. And monitoring, right? Monitoring is like checking the application, whether application is reachable, available, whether database is available, and all the stuff. So agile was so much focused on development that they forgot that there's a separate team who needs to maintain this. And operations team were not ready to maintain such an applications which are developed with such a rapid speed. Every 2 to 3 weeks you are deploying something. Every 2 to 3 weeks you are deploying something, and which is causing a lot of environment issues, because the development team goal is to speed development, right? They want to do the development with a high speed. But on the other hand, operation team goal is not with the speed. Their goal is to have a stable production environment wherein the customer should not face an issue. If the if your product is not behaving good, if the performance is not good, or it is giving a lot of problems, customer will not take a second to migrate to your competitor, right? Here I am talking about the customer of customers. So the customer of customers, I am a customer of Paytm, and the people who have developed maybe somebody else, for example, right? So operation team main goal is to keep that customer's problem solved, keep the performance of the application high, keep the application available so that the customer of customers do not face an issue, right? So on the development part, Agile did excellently, right? Agile did excellently. They were able to deploy the product very fast. Customer was very happy. But once the product is deployed, right, and when the team started receiving errors, the environment got unstable, right? The application was coming down very frequently. There were a lot of performance issues were coming because they were not able to cope up with the speed. They need time to make the environment stable. If you want to scale up, scale down, it's manually they had to do it, and it was again very time consuming. Debugging is very time consuming. All those mess came up. Now the industry realized, right, even though it is good with development, but we need some more, right? We need again a solution. There's again a big problem left which was not solved by agile models, right? What is that? That the work of the operations team, it's manual, it's time taking, and they are not able to do this stuff. So what do we need? We need to automate that stuff, right? We need to find a way wherein we can let a machine do what a machine should get capable of doing, and let humans do what humans are capable of doing. What do you think? What humans are capable of doing? What is the difference between machine and humans? What do you think? Tell me, what do you think? What is the difference between humans and machines? How humans are different than machines? Right now, AI is in on top, right? We are simulating humans. But one thing that stays with humans is logical thinking, right? Humans have this capability of logical thinking. So humans can think logically. So still, planning and development, these are the tasks that still can be done by a developer, right? Then that by humans. But compiling the application, testing the application, deploying the application, scaling up, scaling down, applying patches, monitoring, they all can be automated. All right. So they realized that we need something more. Again, another problem that with Agile was, because of this problem, their goal was different. There were a lot of conflicts between the dev team and the operations team, right? They were always in fighting mode. Hey, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. They had their own challenges also, right? But there were a lot of conflict. There is a wall. They were not friends, right? So what was their challenges? If you look at the challenges, what could be their challenges? So development team has its own challenges, like because the cycle is very small now. Every 2 weeks they have to, even if we modify a single thing, the whole application needs to be tested. So the regression test needs to be done again and again and again and again, right? Then in every 2 to 3 weeks the application has to be deployed. So it has to go to multiple test environments, validations, and there's multiple requests needs to be raised for deployment, customer approval. So the teams have realized that majority of the time they are just spending in doing the repetitive stuff which has become a part of every sprint, like testing, continue manual testing all over the time, deployment, planning changes, creating changes, deploying, and all the stuff. They were able to spend very little time in coding because this manual and repetitive work is huge and was consuming 70% of their time. On the other hand, ops team challenges was like the customer started complaining about the performance of the application because application was going there and it was not being maintained. The infrastructure was not ready for this, and application environment got very stable. Very frequently, application or environment started going up and down because of resource issues and all that stuff. Because ops team was not in control, they could never be in control with such a speed. They need to plan up well ahead. All right, and manually with such a fast speed development, manually maintenance was not possible, right? So what is the solution? right? The problem again, we are ended up with the problem. So we solved some problems of waterfall in Agile that is related to development. We solved, but Agile also had some challenges which these guys have mentioned. So what is the solution? The solution is DevOps, right? So DevOps has 8 phases. It starts from planning, coding, building the app, then testing the app, then releasing the app, then deploying it, then operating it, and monitoring it. All right. With DevOps, we learned that okay, dev team and ops team, you are fighting a lot. Let me merge you. Let me put both of you into a single team. So instead of I want speed, I want stability, you should start saying we want speed plus stability, right? So in DevOps, they combined the dev and operations team and they made them end-to-end responsible for the overall product development and deployment and maintenance, right? So what would happen? They cannot blame each other. But is the problem really that? Is it the only problem that they were fighting? Was there any other problem that was resulting these conflicts? Yes. These problems were their work was not streamlined, right? Ops job was not as easy. Their job was manual, and the requirement that dev team was asking them about the deployment, scaling up, and all the stuff, it was not possible for them. They have to scale up their team with so many members, or they need technology, right? So what DevOps said, okay, first job, we will combine both of you and we will make both of you end to end responsible, so you cannot blame each other. Third, now to enable you to do all the job, we will leverage technology, right? So we will do automation as much as possible, right? So what we will do, what kind of automation we can do? So we will do building automation. We will build the application automatically. We will test the application automatically. We will configure our servers automatically. We will deploy application automatically. We can monitor application automatically. So overall, what is the DevOps? DevOps is a culture of collaboration wherein the dev team and ops team needs to collaborate. DevOps is a culture of end-to-end responsibility where the dev team person and the ops team person, they both have feel end-to-end responsible for the overall product. Instead of I'm a developer, I'm an ops guy. No. Together you have to achieve the success. All right. Then DevOps is a culture of automation. So with DevOps, we try to automate everything, right? We try to leverage technology and we try to automate everything. Whatever a machine can do, let a machine do. And what humans are made for, let humans do that part. All right. So with this, DevOps aims at speed as well as stability. So all the challenges that we have in Agile, DevOps try to address those challenges and overcome those challenges with the help of automation. Okay, you had a lot of manual problems. Okay, get rid of it. Use the tools that we have and let's automate the stuff. What do we automate? We have the best practices. What we automate: continuous integration, continuous deployment. As a part of this, we automate build process. That means compiling your application and packaging it. That's called build process. Testing your application, we can automate. Configuration automation, like configuring your servers. If your servers requires to have a same set of softwares, you can configure those servers automatically. You can deploy your application to the servers automatically. All the stuff you can do. Understood? So that's what DevOps is focused on. So DevOps is not a tool, right? DevOps is not a methodology. DevOps is a culture of collaboration, of end-to-end responsibility, of automation, and DevOps aims at speed as well as stability at the same time, right? And these are to do the automation, we have to leverage the technology, so we have to use a lot of tools. And that's where we need to learn a lot of tools like Git, Maven for building, Selenium for testing, Jenkins for CI/CD pipeline, Docker for containerization, Kubernetes for container orchestration, Ansible for configuration automation, and Prometheus for continuous monitoring, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud for having the infrastructure ready. So all these tools we need to learn and leverage these tools to have an automated pipeline. The goal is the moment a developer commits the code, right? You should be able to build, test, package, and deploy that code to various test environment and then to production. That's what the goal. So now what started happening, like majority of the work, developers started in developing the code and automating the workflow. The main goal of a DevOps engineer is to automating and establishing a CI/CD pipeline. That's what DevOps engineers are known for, and they are very rare in the market. That is why this DevOps engineer role or job is one of the highest paying job nowadays in the market, and it is growing. In 2030, you can see that the huge market of DevOps. Every organization will turn into DevOps organization, and they need huge number of developers. All right. So today DevOps is a good choice to learn, and that's why we are here for to get you introduced to the DevOps. Are we ready for the demo? Give me a thumbs up if you all are okay. Were you able to understand this so far, whatever we discussed? Were you able to relate the problem, right? Theoretically, conceptually, were you able to understand how this all started happening and how we end up with DevOps, right? Interesting, right? You get to work with a lot of development and the tools and all the stuff, so many tools, which makes you one of the unique skill. Like you would have one of the unique skill in the industry, and which will increase your value in the market. Perfect. Final, this is what we want to achieve, right? So with the git push into our repository, we want to start our pipeline, then we are going to build our code, then we are going to execute our testing, and then we are going to deploy to multiple environments. So deploy, test, deploy, test, deploy, test, and then finally we would be moving to production. That's how an standard corporate pipeline works. All right, here we will give you a demo of this, like how does this whole automation works. It check out the code, compiles it automatically, and then test it automatically, and then deploy it to the AWS server. So the process of taking the code, compiling it, testing it, packaging it, this is called continuous integration. With every commit, the code gets compiled, the code gets tested, and the package is created and ready for deployment. This part is called continuous integration, right? Continuously, you are integrating your code. With every commit, within 10 minutes, user is getting a feedback. All right, like this. Then you have a continuous deployment. So we have CI CD. CD stands for continuous delivery or continuous deployment. If it's a manual intervention in deployment, it's called continuous delivery. And when it's automated deployment to the production, it's called continuous deployment. That's what CI CD refers to: continuous integration, continuous delivery, or continuous deployment. Okay, it's not continuous development. Sometimes some people misunderstands it as continuous deployment. Got it? Any questions? All right. Well, thank you so much. That's all I have today for you. I hope you enjoyed today's session. Let's keep in touch. These are the sessions that we have planned. We are planning a session on cloud computing. If you're interested in learning how does cloud computing works, the session we are going to conduct on 11th of October. And then if you're interested in how does Agile works, right, we were going to conduct a masterclass on Agile on 25th October, right? Stay tuned to our LinkedIn page, to our Instagram, and to the WhatsApp group, or to the website, so that you can get all the updates, all the offers that are running, or all the free classes that we are running. Follow us on Insta, follow us on LinkedIn, and on Facebook, MentorBaba Academy. Yeah, thank you so much. If you like the session, I'm posting a feedback link. Help us with the feedback. Okay, I've shared the link in the chat box. And thank you so much for joining today, guys. Thank you so much, and have a great day. I think it's night over there, right? In US, it's just the day just started.